You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Cricket Podcast. It's the third part of our trilogy. Don't have a trilogy in one show, do you?
Yeah,
Why not? It's the third act. You have an act. It's the third act of the podcast. We're talking about the 100. But before we do, just a handful of messages. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/the Cricket Pod. We love money and we love it when you give it to us. So just go there and do that. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Road to 11K. We want to get more subscribers so we can get money that way too. It's all about money. And finally, we are sponsored by
the BCCI podcast. This is
Manscaped, who also give us money. Use the code CricketPod for 20% off plus free worldwide shipping there. And go back to part 1 for Ross talking about confidence. If you want to know specifically why you should go to Manscaped, code CricketPod.
And increase your batting average.
The 100 wrapped up. We did a little preview of the knockout stages. Max, we both called Trent Rockets to win.
We did.
The men's version. I think there was a little bit of a divide in the camp about whether Southern Brave or Oval would win.
Yeah, well, I obviously backed my Oval Invincibles as a lifelong Oval Invincibles fan.
Okay, well, it turns out you were 2 for 2. Ross, you were the man on the ground. Do you want to tell us what went down?
I'm going to do something a little bit different for this one. So I promised to do a shout out this week. We rarely do shout outs because we get asked so often, right? But I was in
popularity for you.
I was in the grandstand with my family, which was really nice for my little brother's birthday. And we sat next to two people, a teenager called Kyla and her dad Paul, who are actually out for one of their first days out of the year. So they both love cricket, but Kyla has unfortunately not been able to get out of bed due to illness for the last 9 months. And Max, we're going to like this. She's a keen wicketkeeper spinner, which nice. I really liked when I asked her what she's about. A lot of respect for that. And her big wish is to play a game of cricket next year. So good luck to Kyla. We hope it all works out. But let's start with the women's part of the game, shall we? And I think the only first place to start is Lords itself. The home of cricket. Every player wants to play there. Women typically haven't played there. They've almost been forbidden to play there based upon some of the things that have gone down in the past. But there's been some criticism. And Max, you're a big you're our rules guy. You're our pitch guy when it comes to this podcast. And the ones that they've rolled out for white ball cricket, especially finals, has not been to some people's tastes. On the flip side of that, they've also been home to the best game of cricket of all time in the England victory over New Zealand those years ago. Where do you sit on it, Max? Should they be producing flatter decks so you see the balls potentially smashing the glass of the media centre and potentially killing an old person wearing an egg and bacon? Or are you happy with a different variation and a different challenge for the white ball players?
It's a fair question. I think ultimately it just comes down to the same as what you want from any cricket pitch, isn't it? It's that you want a fair contest between bat and ball. And if you are looking at the course of the finals we've seen with the white ball, where it was, the World Cup, that was, it was, the finish was the most insane finish to a game of cricket you've ever seen. But the middle bit wasn't that good. And then you've got, there's 2 games where it was really close for the most part, the women in the Oval Invincibles women ended up reasonably comfortable by the end, but it looked dicey for quite a while.
Yeah, a bit of a wobble, yeah.
But you've got 100 runs and 120 runs played each other in 100 balls. I mean, that's probably not a fair contest, is it, between bat and ball? I mean, I don't want to see don't like take bowlers out of the equation and just have balls flying everywhere.
To go back to Ross's question,
but you want to bit of everything. You want everyone to have a go. And also, I don't think you want anything that kind of favors a specific setup of team in any way, if you know what I mean? So, where just because a team happens to be quite good at doing a certain thing, say has a bunch of anchors in it or something, that they're the team that will win it just because that's how the pitch has been laid out for the final. So, I don't think it's great. especially when you're trying to, make it the spectacle that it is. And I think we've mentioned before that Lords might not be the best place to have a white ball final, but it did result in 2 close games, so I will forgive them.
Okay.
Fair enough. Well, let's talk about your mighty ovals, because they strangled Southern Brave from the outset. They bowled really well, really disciplined. They made some really good bowling changes, and they were clearly working their way through the matchups. Jack?
No, I was just doing the symbol, the anal prize.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
National Lottery.
Carry on. I was enjoying the summary.
But we've seen it a few times, and this is we're looking at the batting in the women's game at the moment. That when the pace has been taken off the ball, some of the batters have struggled to find the boundary because the late cut sweeps they weren't working, and then typically because they're so technically good down the ground, they typically go to that. There's not a lot of risk taking when it comes to trying to hit square of the wicket. And what you saw here was that one side of the ground, like it was when we were in the media centre before, Jack and Max, where the pitch was over to one side. It was towards the grandstand, and I just felt that Southern Brave missed a trick there of not trying to attack it more often. And if you look at the wickets, they're not percentage shots. They are high risk shots for not that much reward, and that's where I think that Oval just had a bit more about them. They had a bit more game awareness. Alex Capsey looked like a cut above, and then Marizana Cap used all of her experience. I think she was person of the game last year's final as well as this one. And you saw that difference.
Match hero, isn't it, or something?
Match heroes. That's the one. And ultimately, it was a really good performance from Oval. Their spinners, in particular, were essential for victory.
I think they were pretty good value on the day. And the knockout match to get to, or the eliminator, I don't know what they're called. Mm-hmm. It's the semi-final, but there are 4 teams. It's the eliminator. That was a belter as well. And I thought once Southern Brave had got through that they would win the final. If people haven't watched it, the last 10 balls are pretty incredible. Basically, Nat Siver single-handedly takes her team to the brink of victory. And then, I say this, I think what they need 24 off the last over or something or 24 off the last. Fucking hell, I've completely lost my mind. It's all gone wrong. I think it was 27 off the last 5. She hit 6, 6, 6, 6 off Talia McGrath. There was
one of the best bowlers in the world.
Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then by her own admission, said she got out of the zone and started to think about like where she would hit the 4, tries to drive it through the covers. And
you're telling me there's no such thing as clutch, Jack?
Well, there isn't such thing as clutch. But she should have just tried to hit it for 6, like he had the 4 previous.
Do the same thing.
I thought once you got through that, it was a repeat of last year's final, wasn't it? I thought that probably Southern Brave were the best team in the tournament, and probably they would beat Oval on the day as well. But they've got some good players, Oval, haven't they? You talked about Capsy and Cap. I thought the best team on the day, maybe not the best team in the tournament, the best team on the day won the women's side.
Yeah, my particular highlight was watching Ishmael bowl, because Ishmael, as we know, is probably the fastest bowler in the competition. And there was a few proper geezers behind me. We've got the Harrington jackets on, kind of like, we're on the beers, and the first ball she bowled whipped past the outside edge, and it's going, fuck me, she's sharp. And you got a load of kids around you, and it's like, you're going to enjoy watching this. Yeah. But all in all, it was a resounding victory. Should we move on to the men's?
Yeah.
Trent were on it immediately. And man for man, I think we're a better side. Even with the loss of Rashid and Shamsi, Matt Carter kind of came in, who is an unbelievably tall spinner. Remember Suleimani Ben for West Indies? It kind of gave me that kind of vibe. But Trent here, they used their spinners really effectively. Samit Patel picked up 3 wickets.
What a hero.
Evergreen. Just
man of the tournament.
Evergreen. And but what you saw here, that they had a bit of a clear game plan. They used the matchups quite nicely. Luke Wood is going to be exciting for England. I think playing in Pakistan, the guy, he's I don't know how to describe, because he's not a very tall person. He kind of whips in really quickly and then slings it down. It's great to watch. But they just blew them away here in the first bit. However, Manchester Originals kept themselves in it. And that's what I quite liked about this game. Max, we talked about kind of the pitch being a factor here, but they really didn't want to let go of the chance of winning. And I thought that fighting spirit was actually quite good, especially as they were pretty much playing with a depleted lineup, right? If Josh Butler and Andre Russell's in this team, then it might well be a different ending. But yeah, they just didn't have the depth of batting that Trent Rockets had.
Paul Walter couldn't do it for them.
Yeah, Trent Rockets did nearly blow it though, didn't they?
Yeah.
They gave it a good go.
So, I mean, what I was saying a bit about, having a pitch that's like kind of doesn't benefits one side more than another side. Now, sort of related, although you do have to say this is entirely Manchester Originals' fault for not having enough left-handers. But something with a short boundary on one side, for me, it seems weird to have that for like a final. Why don't you just have it in the middle? But
Eating a play at Harrow next week, you can't.
you can't play on that one. But I mean, Trent Rockets they did nearly blow it, but they deserved it over the course of the tournament. I think they've been the best side, but I think they've also probably. I don't know if this is definitely true, but from what I can remember from basically all the teams who are any good, at least, they're the team who've been the least affected by people pulling out, apart from Shamsi right at the end. When you got like and injuries as well. Josh Butler getting injured and Andre Russell going. You had Narayan leaving, Jason Roy getting injured and Reece Topley getting injured for the overall Invincibles, and then London Spirit losing.
Zach Crawley,
and who then came back, and
Kieran Pollard,
Pollard, and Maxwell was. Thank you. I was trying to think the Australian one, and for some reason my mind has stopped working. But basically, I think the Trent Rockets have kind of managed to keep sort of everyone together for the most part, and that's probably helped them quite a lot.
Good recruitment, good team building.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. I think they.
A bit of luck as well.
Yeah, a little bit lucky. I think they were the most complete team. I think the best team won it. I do. Yeah, they have definitely helped that Luke Wood becomes very, very good. Not this. You didn't just turn up and become good suddenly, but he's definitely on an upward trajectory. And I don't know whether when they drafted him, they expected him to be quite this good, but he was maybe the quick bowler of the tournament, and he didn't get injured. So that's a nice bonus. Anyway, we had some more general stuff to talk about the tournament. And a lot of these sort of come through from questions, and we may as well go through these, I think, and then we'll do any final thoughts, whatever. Paul Griffith says, was the second 100 a success? I really enjoyed it, and having quality cricket to watch every night is amazing. But as a cricket nut, I have found myself watching families play on the beach. And I think this is probably the question of the moment, isn't it? There's been a few rumblings around the 100. I think BBC TV viewing figures were down on last year. There were some good men's games right at the end of the tournament, but a lot of pretty average ones earlier. Welsh Fire were a disaster. There probably was a little bit of a problem with big name players leaving. Certainly a problem with injuries. Season 2 of the 100, Ross, how do you rate it? And I might, instead of asking Ross, ask you, Max, because Ross has frozen.
Yeah, he has frozen, hasn't he? The long-awaited and famously difficult second album. It was, I think you've touched on the major points there, haven't you? I think one of the big things was, and I think we spoke about it a bit with Ed Farrow, who joined us the other week from the 100 podcast. People leaving, definitely not ideal. I think you do have to think about, particularly, because, like there are different tournaments going on at the same time and different cricket fixtures. So there was a level of it expected this year, which hopefully next year there won't be. But things like Tabraiz Shamsi not being around for the final of the tournament to go and play in the CPL, that's the kind of thing that makes you a bit concerned about it. But I mean, there was an element of people leaving. There's an element of just bad luck in that so many people have been injured that would have lifted the level of the tournament. And I think it has probably ended up on the men's side being, quality-wise, it's probably regressed a bit and gone more towards the level of the Blast than last year, perhaps. I mean, on the women's side, the addition of the Australians has absolutely improved it. And I think we've seen record scores in the women's 100 with the bat. I think it's been been, I think it's definitely developed on the women's side, and the attendances are up as well. We've broken record attendances for domestic women's cricket as well. So I think on that side, it's been really positive. On the men's, I think it probably hasn't kicked on much, but I don't think it's anything like terminal. It's just sort of a kind of symptom of sort of other factors that you can't really avoid. And I think next year it'll probably.
I thought it was better. I thought the men's side was better.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit more competitive. Last year, it took a little bit of getting into in terms of the narrative on it. But on this one, there was the availability and injury issues. I actually thought added to the tapestry of actually what was going on from my perspective. Yes, it's a bit unfortunate you don't get to see Liam Livingstone in all 8 games. Don't get me wrong; it probably would have been better if you're seeing that, and Birmingham Phoenix might well have got to the final if that was the case. But actually, the fact that Southern Brave just didn't go and win it again and Birmingham Phoenix weren't in the final, probably a good thing. You want to have it as more competitive. You want different teams to win it. I think it's now great that you've had kind of Trent Rockets win it. So yeah, I think all in all, it's progress, but you're not knocking on the door of the best competition in the world at the moment.
Was it 3 entirely different teams in the playoffs as well? Or did Trent Rockets make it last year?
Trent Rockets made it last year to the end.
Yeah. I'd probably give it 7 out of 10.
Which is not to be sniffed at.
I think it's fine. I think some of the other things like around the TV ratings, apparently some of that's explained because less people are watching TV in general. Also, the football started earlier this year.
Yeah, Commonwealth Games was on.
Yeah, Commonwealth Games was on.
Also, there are mitigating factors on that one.
People could go on holiday. They couldn't go on holiday last year.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything hugely dramatically bad on that front. I'd still, and I've probably said this a bunch of times on the show, I still think it would be better if they just turned it into a T20 tournament. I don't think it needs to be 100 balls. I think make it a T20 tournament. And
I don't think they've made crickets easier to understand for anyone coming into it. By making it 100 balls. I think the things that they've done to try and make it more accessible, they could have done with
maybe
T20 cricket.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think you probably have seen better games as well because the teams wouldn't have had to. You're learning who your players are. Like half the coaches, I don't want to break the illusion here, shatter the illusion, but Tom Moody doesn't turn up at Oval Invincibles and know all the guys. Like he probably didn't even know who Jordan Cox was.
Doesn't he know what car he owns?
He's an England player now.
Didn't know, and then he turned up and he's been one of their players of the tournament. I think having that dynamic as well as what strategy do we use means that in quite a few games, one team has just got it so obviously wrong that they almost cannot win.
Yeah, that hasn't helped either, has it? Yeah. You can't have a whipping boy in an 8-team tournament. That's bad. But I'd say there's just one thing it's missing.
Yes.
An SUV.
That's a good point. We should get an SUV in. 2 more questions, boys, then we'll wrap up the show. It's been a little bit of a long one, but we haven't done a show for a few days. Bazball Convert says, which overseas player's performance has shocked you the most from the 100? Who was the star of the show?
I was going to the opposite way. I was going to say that Faf du Plessis, after we talked about it, he was rubbish.
Okay, that's fine. It wasn't written as necessarily a positive thing, was it? It was just shocks. You were shocked at how bad Faf du Plessis was. Max?
I was actually thinking Laura Wolfart. With all the hype around the Australians coming in and smashing it, and she's been immense for the Northern Superchargers and pretty much single-handedly made them competitive with the bat, and was very impressed by her.
I thought. I haven't got any stats to back this up, but I saw him play 3 times. I thought Nathan Ellis was really good live. Looks definitely passes the eye test. So
halfway there.
Nathan Ellis, and then of players I was shocked by. I thought Nathan Ellis was a lot better than I thought he was on the TV. Like when he was live, you were like, oh wow, batters actually really struggled to pick this guy up. Narine.
Just was Narine,
but That's sort of what I thought. And then finally, from Nick Hogan, are you going to miss the relentless interviews with random kids in the 100 crowd? I can no longer enjoy cricket without being told how much families love it every 5 minutes. I for one, will not miss that. I think that's another criticism of the 100 I'd have. And I feel like good cricket will sell itself if you do enough to put the good cricket in front of people.
Yeah, and hype the moments of cricket, highlight good stuff that happens.
Fundamentally disagree.
And no, we'll get to that. I don't think you need to, when good cricket or bad cricket is happening or whatever, cut to shots of people in the crowd and listen to Dan Norcross or whatever, be like, oh wow, a kid, it's
I've never seen one of these in the wild before.
It is relentless, and sure, when you are at the grounds, it is a bit more family friendly, and I think they have done a good job of putting the good cricket in front of the people that it's supposed to be put in front of. I don't think you then need to be like patting yourself on the back and be like, oh yeah, look at the 100. Ross, why?
I get that, but I think at the same time, at the moment, you are trying to build a new audience, and the only way you get people in it is that the kids being on TV, the kids being they've got a sign, they've got this kind of stuff. I think it makes it like I want to be like that. I think kids are really impressionable. They'll go to their parents and be like, "Why can't we go and do that? Because little Timmy was on, and I'm jealous of little Timmy." I think it's what they need to do right now. And
what this is.
So we're going for the post 9 o'clock McDonald's advert approach.
This is insight into the mind of a child, Max. Me and you, we don't have this.
We can't put ourselves in those tiny shoes, even though I have tiny shoes.
As you say that, I do to some extent agree. Like the constant stimulation model that they've adopted, it isn't really for 30-year-olds.
No, it's really not.
It's for people who are 12.
It's certainly not for people who suffer from epilepsy.
Don't want to wait 22 seconds for the next ball to be bowled.
I do think this could be better. I think the food options at the ground could be better. The fact that they are sponsored by
I don't know, the curry in the Lord's press box is pretty good.
Oh, press box, don't have a pop of the press box. That's good. Yeah.
But I was just saying that they should be having sweets. They should be literally having crisps everywhere. Fuck healthy eating, straight on everything else.
Sweet cannon.
Yes. AP nuts coming out of her.
Unfortunately, 14 people have been killed by a Skittle bomb.
Skittle bombs, they're booze, aren't they? Right, lads. Anything else on the 100? I say 7 out of 10. Quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think still finding its feet.
Coming on next year. I'll probably enjoy it next year. Yeah.
Bring on the media pass.
Cool. It would be good. Look, if the fast bowlers are all fit, the quality would be really, really good.
Yeah, a victim of circumstance to a certain extent this year, but yeah.
Right, let's call this show off. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.